So you started kind of in DC, but you were part of like the Orange County scene.
Yeah,
And they were
I feel
like,
like Orange County is my real start. Like my when I really, really was doing comedy. Like just because you do it once a year. I feel like that's like saying like I'm a bodybuilder, but you go to the gym once a year. It's like
yeah,
not really a bodybuilder. Um, but in Orange County, we moved there because my dad died, and no disrespect to Orange County, but it's just not as cool as the DMV. It's just not as
mhm,
there's not as much distractions to fuck around with. At least for me, I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna go to the beach and learn how to surf. I was just like, nah, I'm bored out of my fucking mind. I'm in the suburbs again. How do I find something cool to do? And there's a pretty good scene that was bubbling up in Orange County.
yeah. Who like? There's some big names that have come out from that scene since, right? Like, um,
Yeah, I would say so. There's a really good crop of comics that came out of there. Connor McSpadden, Robin Tran, who's fucking the murderer, Damien Holmes, Ramsey Badawi, Keith Carey. Who else is down there? I know Daniel Tosh did some time down there too.
mhm.
Um, what's the old boy's name that was on SNL? He did some time down there. Daniel Eachus is another guy who's like a fucking killer. Uh, I think Jackie Fabulous did some time down there.
And did
Yeah, Orange
was
County,
the
you got some rippers.
what was your start like? Like, were you at clubs or like what? Where were you working?
Mostly working at open mics and like there was a good open mic scene for if you were starting. This guy named Evan Cassidy uh, really was like a hustler, would produce a bunch of mics. There was two big ones. There was one called Anchor Bar. There was one called Max Blooms. They're both no longer there. But Anchor Bar was like a comedy club. It
Hmm.
really, as somebody who's performed at the Cellar, it feels like the Cellar
Yeah.
because like it's a low ceiling room. Your back is to like a weird wall, and small intimate crowd. So like if you got big and relaxed, it felt like just like a comedy club, and real audiences would come to watch.
Damn.
So and there would be spots like there was a spot called Tickles that would be on Wednesdays, and it was run by this recovering crack addict named Johnny Flowers, and nicest motherfucker of all
Yeah.
time. But it was also in a methadone rehab center, so
Jesus.
you were performing to like recovering meth addicts,
It's
and
actually a great idea for like a new
fantastic idea.
like to just get audiences, like that's those people
It was
always
a
want to be
fantastic
entertained.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes Johnny Flowers, because you never know where his mind would go. He would just walk out of the room, and you'd be up there for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So you were getting a lot of stage time really fast. Like I developed about 10 minutes of doable material, not the greatest material, but I could do 10 minutes in like 5 months
Damn.
into stand up. I like knew how to do five strong for the time material. Um, and like I could do 10 total, but for like, for 5 months,
Yeah.
man, that was like,
That's pretty
it's
fucking
impressive to
good.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's only if you took it seriously because like every comic there was good. Like Robin and Connor and Damien, like, they were really good comics. But they would get up every single night, like, and I just took, their lead and I just started getting up as much as they did.
Yeah.
Um,
So when did you end up making the move to New York? Or what drove that?
so New York, so I stayed in Orange County from 2013 to 2016, and then I moved to LA because that it came to that point when like, I was getting festivals out of Orange County. I was getting, um, managements were looking at me and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? I kind of done everything I could here.
Yeah.
So I moved to LA because a bunch of but it was kind of at that time where like we were all 3 years into stand up. It's time to figure out what are we going to take this seriously?
Yeah.
And so, some people moved to New York, some people moved to LA, and I was like, well, my mom lives in Orange County, and I don't want to I often leave her, so I'm gonna stay in LA. So I moved to LA 2016, started hitting the open mic scene there, trying to get on shows out there. And slowly but surely, I started getting recognized. I got a manager. And that's when in 2018, I worked for the New Negroes out here.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote for New Negroes. Shout out to the big homie Baron Vaughn. Sized the fuck out of me. That was my first writing job. And that's where I met some people, Funny or Die. They liked what I did on that show. And I Love You America with Sarah Silverman was looking for a new staff writer. And Funny or Die recommended me. I met Sarah, met with head writer Dave Ferguson. They liked me. They brought me on. And I wrote for them for one season until they got canceled. And that was such a great experience because Sarah's the best and Dave's the best and everyone in that room is the best, except for one person, but I ain't gonna say her name. But everyone, I really learned a lot from all those people. Tim Kalpakis, John Haskell, Raj Aside, Nick Weiger, Beth Stelling was in that room. She's a ripper, if anyone knows who Beth Stelling is. She's one of the dopest comics on the planet right now.